As of lately, I can never, never live stream, but that's what it is. I got a total, got a total of 7 hours of sleep. Well, really sucks. But welcome in, welcome. Most of you folks had the weekend off, and uh, but can't do it. They make cheeses.
What the heck? Hold on. You know what? Let me cut one of the guys out.
I have this new Chinese done. How's that? How's that one, Mike? I had to turn my other thing off. Let me know if I'm still cutting in and out. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, Peach, how you doing? Um, I wanted to tell an old story. Um, as as an as an adult, um, as a grown adult, I never took vacations until I met Norma, and I was I'm very much an introvert. I don't want to do all kind of stuff. And it's so funny is because when after the major accident, 11 years ago, I cried out to God, I just want to live, and not like I just want to live because I almost died, but I want to live. I want to do something. And it's so funny how my friend Charles showed up, and you know, the adventures began, and we have done some crazy stuff that I would never had done. Um, Zip lining is one of them. I wish I could have did the been able to record because that's when I just got my uh, hold on one second. Let me see my coffee. I just got my GoPro, and I just got my GoPro, and we were in the Tennessee mountains, and and I always had it. Was gonna have it on my head. I had bought the strap and everything, and I was gonna do the whole thing. And the zip line would not let me do it. Thank God they didn't, because I was terrified. I was terrified, and um, we did one zip line, and I was ready to walk down the mountain. I wasn't gonna get on the next one and the whole nine. I was serious. And I remember telling the story of watching Norma come in, because I said, if I don't go first, I'm not going to do this. And I was, and I kept on going first. And I watched Norma come in backwards, and she got off and was smiling and everything. And and at that point, I had to make the decision. I cannot let my woman, my wife, the love of my life, see me be a wussy and wuss out, because I was so terrified. My leg was shaking, and and she got off it, but she tells me later, years later, that she was mortally terrified. We could have walked down the mountain together, because I was like, nah, bump this. And it it was so it was traumatizing, but I made it through, and I was so proud of myself that I made it through. I never said nothing to nobody. And I remember there was one part where they were, because see, I was the first one, and we got on the zip line after a snowstorm, and there was ice on the cables. There was two cables, a safety cable and another cable. There was ice on the cable, and the ice was coming off the cable and hitting me in the face. So when I had was red face, and I'm like, this is crazy. What are I doing? And I remember I didn't bring my glasses, because I really didn't want to see. I didn't want to see how dangerous this was. And that's why when I get to this subject, do we do we lose our common sense when when, when we're on vacation? Is is the natural born is the natural born reaction, because a lot of times you always hear in the church, God is not giving you the spirit of fear. God gave us the spirit of fear. God gave us that reaction of fear, because we know we about to do something stupid. And I had to keep convincing myself. So every time I do something different, I asked for this. I wanted to do this. I wanted to, get out into the world and try something. But I'm noticing, and it's just my opinion, I'm noticing that a lot of people that um when they get on vacation, they forget, one, you're out of shape, two, you're old and don't have it like you used to, three, you're probably doing something that you've never done before and don't have any experience doing. What do I mean by it? You see a lot of people getting out. They'll get out and they'll do the jet skiing, and you don't realize, just by jet skiing, even just regular boating, from the waves and how that you approach that wave, that you can seriously hurt yourself. And depending on the speed, if you hit that water, you think, oh, I'm just going to hit the water. Um, it's going to be just liquidy and everything else. But no, and at a certain speed, you hit that water is going to feel like hitting concrete. And there's certain ways that you hit that wave so that you don't flip over or you don't do certain things. And then you're in the ocean, and this is not like the regular beach. A regular beach or a regular uh resort area has uh a certain area that's netted off that big fish, bad fish can't get to you. Do you get what I'm saying? So you're looking at that. You ever see that when the guys in them there in the kayaks and the shark comes up and tries to bite the kayak and they're like, ah! You know, I, people are not understanding that, yes, we're not a great country, but we have some rules, we have some regulations set in place that, there's specific um there's specific safety measures. You see them, there's specific safety measures. A lot of people, and I'm not trying to be mean, they get off on these cruises and try to do these excursions like swimming with the sharks or the stingrays. You know that guy that Australian zookeeper died from a stingray stabbing him straight through the heart. And I'm not trying to talk nobody out of whatever. Do you, boo boo? But I'm just saying, have some common sense. Have some common sense. You know, it's when I after I did the first zip line, after I did the first zip line, I was always so traumatized that when we the second one was the one when we got off the cruise, and it was a short one, but I wanted to do it. And I forgot what island that was on. We had got off the ship and we jumped on there, and I just Norma did it once, and then she was done. And um I did it twice with Charles, and he was done. I wanted to keep on doing it because now I had gotten under, I had gotten used to the rush. You see what I'm saying? I ain't gotten used to the rush, but we don't we don't realize just certain things because we think, especially, I'm a high yeller, but you know, they red bone, light skin, whatever. In the Caribbean, I'm gonna get sunburned. But you just start thinking we lose count. Wait a minute, I'm black. I'm not gonna get sunburned. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. uh, oh, Mike says I do not unnecessary. I don't do unnecessary things. I I was like that too until I came out of my shell. But I have some common daggone sense. I used to ride dirt bikes. I've known about four wheelers for a long time. That four wheelers, riding a four wheeler a four wheeler is a dirt bike, but you got to treat it different. You can't take those turns on a four wheeler. You can't do tight turns. You're gonna flip that sucker. And I remember our first trip to Costa Rica. Hold on, let me get first trip to Costa Rica. Um, Normal was on the back, and she wanted to see everything. So she was flopping around on the back of the four wheeler that I was riding and knocking it off balance. So every time she wanted to look on one side, I'm I'm swinging to the I'm swinging on the left hand side to keep us balanced so we don't flip. And I'm like, yo, slow your roll. I don't want to see you. And I'm, we we literally we literally almost ran into a fence. And I'm sitting there cracking up because Norman never rode she never rode a four wheeler before, and she couldn't grasp the concept. They had it modified where you just had you just had to throttle it. You know, it was like an automatic or whatever. You just had to throttle it. She couldn't grasp the concept, and you know, he when she went out with the guide and almost ran into a tree. Almost ran into a tree. So he's like, "Nah, she need to get on the back with you." And the thing is, when you start understanding, having common sense, when you're doing, these excursions and land, things, and so you got to understand the dangers of stuff and know your limits of what you can do or what you cannot do. Um, I I prefer if I'm going to do stuff like, and see, like there was one remember Charles and it was telling us, I forgot where they went. They did a four wheeling, and we wasn't with them, and everybody got lost. You on an island, you in the backwoods in the jungle, and everybody lost. Unbelievable. I remember I gotta get him to come on and tell that story. That was so freaking hilarious. He got stuck in the mud and everybody's lost. See, I mean, I'm saying you, but this, we just talking here. Um, when you're on vacation, know your limits. You know what I'm saying? Know your limits and know your boundaries because this, you always hear someone getting hurt, killed. There's, okay, prime example. There's some place in Jamaica where there's a falls that everybody wants to jump off and jump in the water from a certain area. But have you ever done it before? Have you um have you swam around that area that didn't feel like there's a rocks or whatever? You could be jumping off of something, and it could only be a foot of water at the bottom of that. Uh, they have what they call it rip ties, and even the strongest of swimmers, it can't handle that. Because I think it's like there's a certain water right above, and then under it, it could pull you under. Um, Charles was telling me about an excursion that they went on. I believe it was in Mexico, snorkeling excursion. But in the United States, if you go on snorkeling, you got to be certified. And don't quote me on that. But you got to go through some classes to learn how to go that deep into the water, because if you get deep enough and you run out of air and you got to rush up to the top of the to the surface, you could get what's called the bends. you know um there's ways that you're supposed to breathe in that thing. There's ways that you're supposed to do what you do in that thing. And folks, And folks don't take in context that, hey, wait a minute, I'm not in shape. I'm not in shape to do some stuff like this. I'm not. I'm not well equipped to be able to escape out of here. If they had a thing in Egypt, I think it was Egypt or something like that, where the whole I don't know, don't quote me, I don't know if there were survivors, but the whole boat went down. It was a tourist submarine. There has to be way you have to know your environment. You have to know your environment to be able to escape from these situations, from these experiences. If something goes bad, you know what I mean? Because they make it look like, oh, it's okay. Look, at this point, I've zip lined 3 times. I'm not getting on the zip line unless there is a secondary cable. You know what I mean? Because I want to know if one cable goes, I got another one there. I mean, I'm just saying. Um, when we did the second four-wheeling, they we got it. There was a bigger bike where she could sit in the back, so she was enjoying herself. Um, but the experience, I'll never I'll never trade it for the world. You know what I mean? I'll never trade it for the world. But I had to think, okay, do I want to do this? Is this going to be something? Um, is it going to be something that's not going to cause me too much damage? You know what I mean? And that's why I wanted to say this, that we we are used to, and it seems like the dregs of society since Trumpism, they have decided that they just gonna say anything and just thinking you can get away with it. When you're on vacation, when you're on vacation, and you're especially when you're out of the country, you got to learn how to show somebody. Well, actually, you should be respectful anyway, but you should be to the point that you show people respect regardless, because um but you got to be prepared for situations. It didn't I used to remember. I think this cruise was the first time I seen certain people relax, but now I get why certain things are done. I'm relaxed because I know I got backup, especially my cruise buddy. I got backup. But now in the situations, my common sense has come back. What I mean by that, there was a guy on the elevator with his wife, and these teenagers came on there and was jumping around on the elevator. I made a mental note because they were like, the wife spoke up first. Hey, don't do that. And let's be honest, she probably said it in a very condescending, disrespectful way and got cussed out. But me as a man, and you you confronting my wife like that, okay, now I got to respond. I can't just say, hey, shut up. I gotta respond. Or I gotta give you fair warning. Hey, bro, don't go there. Because once you go there, I gotta respond. Do you see what I'm saying? and I have to protect her. So comments, I'm gonna automatically jump in front of her. I'm gonna protect her. If I'm by myself, I'll take the damage. I'll take the whatever. Um, but the hood in me knows if once I get past these fools, I'm probably gonna get snucked, and that's what happened to the man. He got snucked, and he laying on the ground, and they said in a pool of blood. Really? Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but at that point where you not letting they wouldn't let the couple off the elevator. At that point, I got to make the choice of, am I going to have to just get kicked off this ship for beating the piss out of these guys, and they were going to get snuck first? I'm just saying. You know, and I had to come. I had the talk with my wife about this. She said, "Well, I'm gonna tell him. I'm gonna tell him." So first of all, you don't understand the situation. Us two against all of them, and mainly it's really me against all of them, and you standing behind me. So we have to get out of this situation. You know what I mean? Now I joke about it on a cruise that I'll take the hit because I don't want to get kicked off. But I have to respond. I have to respond in kind if you attack my wife. You know what I'm saying? I have to. It's I have to go for blood. And okay, and like I said, we just talking. This is for entertainment purposes only. But we have to start figuring out, you know, we have to start figuring out what, you know, I'm going back to, I've been a little lazy because, it's just been me. It's just been me. I've been traumatized for years. I'm finally healing up, but I have to get back into a male protection mode, a male protector mode. Um, you know, when we're in certain areas, my back is to the wall and I'm looking at all of the exits and stuff like that. Because you ever hear that there's a joke that a comedian says, and he says, "Duck," and the woman says, "Why do I have to duck?" Now you're shot. you know. And there, I don't know if y'all remember that shooter back in Las Vegas that was shooting up the place. Well, there was a husband grabbed his wife and literally body slammed her, picked her up and threw her into a dumpster. And they're on vacation, but there's shots ringing out because I don't know if you know what bullets sound like. I know what a bullet when shots when somebody shoots. And the man, she's upset that she got thrown in the garbage. Why are you upset you get thrown in the garbage and there's a sniper out there shooting up the place? You see what I'm saying? That guy's training went into, because those dumpsters, that's like 1 inch of steel or whatever, that you ain't penetrating in them dumpsters, or the bigger ones are even better. But see, we don't learn we don't learn the magic word of minding our business when we're on vacation. And I tell the other story about the one lady that they got beat up by a drunk, and I'm not saying that it still was right, but at that point, okay, that person is inebriated over there. Let's go this way. I'm saying the common sense, we kind of lose our common sense. And a lot of us in the Trump, I'm American, I got rights. Well, you don't have no rights when you're not you barely have the rights when you're in your own country. But when you're out of the country, you got you're as an American, you're nothing. We got strong arms in Costa Rica. And Charles looked at me and I looked at him and I was like, yo, this is really going down. I remember that. And I was blown away. But because I'd rather give up $100, or he gave up the $100, I didn't. I'd rather give up the $100 than to get shot by a cop in America. You know what I'm saying? But see, this is what we have our grandmas and grandpas and aunties that weigh 2 tons, get on a boat that can barely fit on these excursions, can barely fit onto a life jacket, can barely get it on them, can half breathe, is on medication, and you got them on a boat that you don't know, has this boat been kept up? Are they going to hit something? What's going to happen if this boat goes down? And guess what? That happened. That happened in Bermuda. Was that Bermuda when the boat went down? The Costa Concordia, or whatever that. Remember that big cruise ship that ran aground and sank? Well, one of the guy's mothers, I forgot something. I wish you would. If the boat's going down, I forgot. I gotta go search. I'd grab you by your neck if you don't get off this daggone boat. But that person wound up passing away. We don't use common sense when in situations that demand it. You see what I'm saying? When I first started going on these adventures, one of the reasons why I realized I got to start losing some weight, because if something goes down, I can't. I'm not going to last long. I'm not going to be able to run away. I'm not going to be able to pick you up and run away with you. If something goes down, see, we don't realize. Okay, do you take into account when to run? Okay, prime example. What was that island where there was a volcano eruption? There was an island where there was a cruise excursion. There was a volcano eruption, and people just kept on with the camera, just videoing. If I hear one boom out of a volcano, let's go. I'm not in, and we're not even walking. We're running. If you're at the beach, I don't know if any of y'all seen movies like this. If you're at the beach, or if you're in a harbor, or if you're in a waterway, and the water's gone, you do know you need to get to higher ground, and you shouldn't be walking or skipping along. You do know you need to let's go now. Well, and don't give me that, what, let's go now. and I'm grabbing you and we're running. I'd rather be wrong than sitting there with a camera and and be, about to lose. You see what I'm saying? We don't use no common sense. I remember I was in the Navy. I got into some trouble, and I was in I forgot which island that was, but our sub was moored off the coast, off the coast, and I had $10. And I know, and this sounds alcoholic, but I was restricted to the boat for 30 days. I got into trouble. I forgot what I got in trouble for. But I was restricted to the boat for 30 days, and I was coming off to get me a drink. And they were robbing guys left and right. They were robbing guys left and right when they got off the boat. And some a group of brothers was coming towards me. And I pulled out my money. I said, "This is all I got." And I think it was $10. And I said it to them. I said, "Are you ready to die for this measly $10? Because I need a drink, and I will take all y'all out with me for this $10. So are you ready to die?" And they fell out laughing. And my man was like, "No, no, yellow man, no, no, you good, you good." They left me alone. And I walked away, got my little sip, and then took my behind back to the boat. I remember that. See, we got to be able to use common sense and know uh, danger, know what you can do, what you cannot do, what is possible, and what is going to be impossible. Good morning, welcome in. And what is possible is different for everybody. What's possible for me might not be possible for you. What's possible for you might not, it probably not going to be possible for me. You see what I'm saying? I know. I realize that at 57, I'm still a child. I'm still a child, and I ain't got no problem with that because some of this stuff. Hold on. Let's see what time it. Okay, I got about 13 minutes before I can go anyway. Um, some of this stuff, even though, even though, even though some of the stuff that I talked about that we've done or whatever was a bit scary, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I just know, okay, because would you do this? Would you do that? It's so funny. It was my catalyst for doing all this stuff is Charles. He's like, "Hey, you want to do this?" And if I'm down, I'm down. If I ain't, he know I ain't doing that mess. And I remember, now Norma, now my wife is worried. The day of the operation, I'm in all this pain. I had a 2 hernia operation. The day of the operation, you ain't nothing wrong with you. What? I got a mesh in my stomach, a mesh in my thigh. Ain't nothing wrong with you. You ain't in no pain. I told her, look, you need to go home. You need to go home and get you some sleep. Uh-uh. I'm telling you. But I think it was a week or 2 weeks after that, Charles had called me and said, "Hey, they're doing balloon ride." I was in pain. But I took that oxy, whatever to take, I took that and I said, okay, let's go. I was with it because to take a balloon ride. And she's like, he in a whole lot of pain. He don't need to be. Oh, now you would, because it was a once in a lifetime. I said, this probably not gonna happen again. And I was in a lot of pain, but I was down for it. That's probably no common sense, but I'm like, I was down. And he was telling me, why didn't you tell me? I don't worry about how I was in pain. I was down for it. Because sometimes common sense, yeah, it ain't common in the sense too, but I'm thinking it's probably not gonna happen again. So might as well go when might as well go for it now. And so this is proof positive. I ain't got no common sense either. That's why I appreciate my friendship. Because he like, but look, call Dan, here go. Oh, really? Oh, Jesus. Give Dan a call, he'll go. and if and if I am, I'll go. I got to get back into a Nightbot to figure out why this thing ain't doing what it's doing. Hey, Urban, I got to get you guys' address, but I'm never home because I got something for Urban and something for Mike's Chaotic Garden. We got to send that to y'all, but I'm never home to sit down and get your address. But y'all, it's still sitting there in the box. um, but even though, and now I'm gonna get a little emotional. Even though, um, it said, "Do you lose common sense?" Yeah, because if I kept my common sense, I would never have these stories to tell. If I used my common sense, I would never have been on these adventures. If I would have did that, I would have never lived. I would have never had fun. I would have never been able to have one of my videos. The GoPro was tilted up, so the whole video is nothing but the trees. But we had a good time. Oh, okay. Because it might make you pay for it. Unsolicited gift. Okay. Yeah, because it might put tariffs on it or something. Ain't that crazy? Unsolicited gift. Wow, that's crazy. We got to do all that. Mm-mm-mm. Lord have mercy. And Trump still in this the orange Frito head talking about making it what the 51st of whatever state. I was I'd be like, look, you must want to start a war. You idiot. What an idiot, man. Huh. Lord have mercy. But that's why again I'm going back to my healthy living. I'm going to go back to my healthy living so I can be in shape to do more dumb stuff. But again, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I'll just say it like that. I'll just say it like that. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and close this out. Thanks, guys, for coming in. Thanks for being a part of the live and listening to the foolishness. Um, guys, coming up next, Wellness for Fugal Mama. Get your workout on and positive affirmations and fashion sense. Eddie Lugo Studios is 7:15. Um, go live together. Cruising is fun anytime at Eddie Lugo Studios at 9 o'clock and 9:15. Miss T with the T. And as always, guys, if you don't think nobody loves you, know that I love you. We love you at this channel, and God loves you. Y'all have a blessed day and enjoy your week. Time to start the week.